Yo, what's up, all you burner stones and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
how the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with some juicy fruit grown by our friend Midwest Terps, and this is named for its bouquet of fruity aromas. This near evenly balanced of sativa and indica taste and smells very much like fruit punch and lemon. Some describe the flavors as closer to pina colada and plums. THC levels reach around 20%, providing a powerful combination of head and body buzz. Juicy fruit contains about 1% CBD, meanwhile making it a better than average choice for patients who experience seizures and other symptoms that respond to CBD. Breeders created this strain by crossing the original Afghani indica with pure Thai sativa. Now, I don't know if Midwest Terps use that or that lineage, but this is what I read online. A process that resulted in 55-45 sativa to indica ratio. The high, which can be quite strong, is intensely euphoric, a mix of physical relaxation and cerebral mood boost. The dominant feeling is one of euphoria, which I love. Juicy fruits are a strong medical tool for patients dealing with anxiety, mood disorders, depression, lack of appetite, and physical pain. Many users report dry mouth and red eyes, though, so if you get cotton mouth like Mr. Weedman does, while others navigate effects appear to be more limited. Thank you, Midwest Terps.
That's right.
For throwing to the cause. And Mrs. Weedman's going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com while Mr. Weedman hits this doink. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Yeah. Head on over to 8decades.com to find our cannabis lifestyle brand. We've got a great shop there where you can pick up a rolling tray, a smoke set, any combination of the pieces. You could pick up some storage jars, some hemp clothing, tote bags, and so much more. You'll also find links to the podcast. You'll be able to read some more information about Mr. Weedman and myself, and you can find some Weedman 420 swag as well. If you sign up for our newsletter, you will get free shipping on your first order. So head on over to 8decades.com.
Absolutely. Check out 8decades.com, everybody. As I always say, if you support 8decades.com, you support the show, and we can keep on paying our producer, Shawty, which is her birthday today. Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Shawty. Happy
Mhm.
birthday. Thank you for the last 6 years and 9 months, 10 months. No, 11 months.
Wow.
6 years and
Almost
11
7
months.
years.
Almost 7 years she's been with me. Only one. It stuck around. I won't get rid of her. She tried, and I reeled her right back in. Mrs. Weedman and I are going to an event on Sunday,
We are?
the Midwest Turp-Off, Michigan
Yes.
versus Illinois, Stouts versus Organics versus Singanthic, March 15th from 3 to 9 p.m. in the Pilsen neighborhood of Chicago. Check out Midwest Terp's Instagram. He'll tell you where it's at. Growers will be battling for category wins and one coveted overall winner title, with serious prizes on the line, including $1,000 cash money awarded to the overall champion, plus premium nutrient packages and exclusive handcrafted awards. Returning from last year, the Sesh Bus will be there. The mobile lounge will be on site, a fully converted tour bus where attendees can kick back and enjoy the vibe in a comfortable lounge setting. There'll also be food, too, by Hibachi Chicago is pulling back up, serving their crowd favorite hibachi plates, and that were a huge hit last year. So Midwest Terps, thank you for throwing to the cause as always. We love your grow. We look forward to this Midwest Terp Off. It's a fun event, and there was a lot of growers last year, a lot of breeders, a lot of people in attendance, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of smoke, a lot of cloud. Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
The whole room was a cloud. So we had fun last year. Hopefully see you all there. Hopefully you guys coming out and come see our table, and I'll be there rolling doinks for you. So come check us out and say hi. We'd love to give you a sticker and give you a hug and smoke a doink with you. All right, everybody. This is some random shit for the whole smoke circle. Everybody that's smoking out there right now listening to the show. What the heck is fucking wrong with daylight saving time? And why the hell does it start at 2 a.m.?
I
Right?
don't know. I've never really, I don't know. I never looked into that.
It throws you off, though, the daylight savings time, right? I mean, I'm whacked out still since Sunday. Like my equilibrium and my time.
Your circadian rhythm is off?
Yes, and my Abdullah oblongata
Yeah, that
is
too.
off too. But you know, the time forward, the time back, it always screws everybody up for for a week, just trying to get that time change. But the daylight saving times is the one that gets you. But what's good about this though is the sun stays out a little bit longer. It's already going down at 7 o'clock, right? It's totally down at 7. It's kind of
It's
nice.
nice, days are longer,
Yeah,
more sunshine.
yes, more sunshine, more of that vitamin D. But like seriously though, who the fuck picked 2 a.m.?
I don't know.
Like,
I'm guessing because most people, unless you work a swing shift or you work nights, most people are sleeping, but is that part of it?
you're there.
Yeah,
That's part of the reason.
part of it.
And the crazy thing about it, Mrs. Weedman and I on Saturday night, we stayed up late. I don't know why, we were just up fucking late, smoking, having some fun, watching a movie. We watched Sinners, which was good. Great blues music. Oh, great music in general. So if you haven't seen it, Sinners was great. But all of a sudden, I look at my phone, it's 1:55. I'm like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit,
Oh,
Mr.
shit.
Weedman, it's 1:55." We go brush our teeth, get ready for bed. Next thing you know, it's 3 in the morning. Ms. Weedman goes, "That wasn't an hour." I'm like, "Nope, time changes
I
at 2 a.m."
was
She's
like,
like,
"Oh, shoot."
"Exactly." We're like, "Why the fuck?" So, like, seriously, who picked this time? So it
Damn
turns
it.
out, actually, it's kinda historical. It involves train schedules,
Hmm,
sleeping Americans,
'kay.
and avoiding total chaos on the calendar.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, but it started back. I didn't realize this, back in the 1900s is when daylight savings time started. It was first introduced, and I guess because lawmakers wanted the clock to change to happen when the fewest people would notice.
Hmm,
Hence why 2
2
a.m. on a
AM.
Sunday.
Hmm.
Most people are asleep.
Why, they think that it's really just like, people won't notice that the
Right.
day is longer.
Most people are asleep though at that time when that time
No, I
changes,
know,
right?
but you're gonna realize it the next day,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. You do eventually. Like if we didn't go to sleep, if we would have went to sleep at like 11, 12 o'clock like normal people do
Yeah.
on a Saturday, we would have woke up and like, yeah, we probably wouldn't have
Good sleep.
realized it for,
Yeah,
yeah, for a few hours going, oh shit, sun's still up at 7 o'clock at night. Oh, that's right. Daylight savings time.
right.
But we were up. So it kind of hit us hard.
Mhm.
So, but there's even more of a real reason.
Okay.
Railroads,
Railroads. Tell me
railroads
more, tell me more.
and trains basically ran the country back
Mhm,
then, their
mhm.
schedules back then. And at 2 a.m. were almost no trains leaving major stations. So it caused the least disruption in the train
Ah.
schedules.
That sounds fair
Kinda
enough.
accurate, right?
Okay.
Yeah, kinda accurate.
Yeah.
So, the whole country times were due to trains and the quiet moment of life, of
Hmm,
sleeping, and no one will notice.
hmm.
Kinda wild history
Yeah.
sometimes though,
Well,
right?
because the change of time had more to do with farming and like early American settling, right? Like farming,
Mhm.
the farming calendar
Yep.
and needing more daylight, certain hours, and more rest, certain months.
Yeah, but it takes me about a week to
But
get through these time changes though. You? How do
um,
you adjust?
I think the spring adjustment is nothing for me because
Because
I'm
that's what you
so
wait
happy.
for.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have more daylight.
You wait for that,
But the
you clamor.
winter, like it takes me like probably 4 of the 5 months of winter to adjust to short days. I
Yeah.
hate it.
Yeah, you don't
Like,
like
I
it.
feel like I wake up and then 2 minutes later, it's time to get ready for bed.
Sun's down. Yeah, it is,
And I don't wake up late,
it is.
Like, it just feels like such a short day.
Yeah. We got a, fun-filled show for you. We got our normal, um, fun article talk we usually do now.
Come on, Mr.
I'm
Weedman.
stoned. It just hit me. We got education, science, and health coming at you. Some great articles Mrs. Weedman and I are gonna be doing. We also have political news, state politics, political news. We have, business news, and then Mrs. Weedman always has a great business article. And then we go into a little bit of international news for you all, and then also we come in hot with some culture to end it for you all, and then our final goodbye. And, so that's how the show's gonna work today, and, kinda works like that all the time,
Yeah.
you know?
That is
So,
the show.
yeah, but somebody might be a new
Or
listener going, "How does this show
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like, flow?" So just so you really don't know, we've been doing the show 6.5 years. Oh, 6 years and actually 11 months, almost 7 years, and, this is our 299th episode.
Mhm.
So stay tuned for 300. It's a biggie.
And
And
there's oftentimes we get requests for people that want to be guests on the show, and
mhm,
that's just we enjoy having guests on the show, but that's not really the format of our show. It's more about kind of like a news segment. This is your cannabis.
Broadcasting.
Yeah, it's like your
Mhm.
yeah. It's a little bit more framed around like the format of a news program.
Right.
So we're just not really set up, and our show doesn't format for guests. And but then we will do. If you go back to old episodes, you can find some of the renegade
Mhm.
sessions, and we'll continue to do those from
Yeah.
time to time.
Here's the thing about us with guests. Mr. Weedman does not like video podcasting. I do it with Big Earl in the Grow Hour because he lives in Michigan, but if Big Earl lived here in Illinois, he'd be doing it at the studio. So that's the only reason why I do a video, and Mrs. Weedman knows how much I dislike video
It's just very
podcasting.
hard to get you have to worry about technology
Yeah,
failing
we've had it
mid
happen.
show.
People's
You
internet
just
goes out.
and more than anything, you just don't have, like, the same banter, you don't have, like, the
Vibe.
same flow.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, sometimes there can be a lag, sometimes there's, like, a lag in the recording,
Right.
and it just there's something about it. It's
It's
just
Mr.
not the
Weed it's
same as having someone present.
Mr. Weedman doesn't like it.
Right.
That's just, and I'm sorry, we get asked a lot from
Mhm.
people to be on the show, and my response is, if you're ever in Illinois, reach out. You can come to our studio.
And we would do a renegade session, we wouldn't
Yes,
do so our weekly format just isn't that.
built for that, yeah.
So
And there's other podcasters that do a great job at it
oh, yeah,
out there.
there's
Oh my
tons of
gosh,
yeah,
that
tons
do
of great
video
interviewers.
podcasting,
Mhm.
through the
Yeah.
links that you can do it on net. I love what they do. Proud of them. Keep on doing it. It's just not our format.
Right.
We want you here physically so we can know you, smoke some weed with you, have some fun with you. It's more of a vibe. So if you ever, we get people asking all the time, if you're ever in Illinois, hit us up. You can come to the new pad, the new studio, and come sit. I'll even buy you pizza.
And we would do a renegade
We do a
session then.
renegade
Yeah,
sesh is what
yeah.
we call it. So if you're interested, just always reach out. If you're in town, and if you've reached out and I've told you we don't do videos, I love you. And come to Illinois. We'll have you on the show. So, yep, 299th episode, everybody. And that's kind of how the lineup flows. And hopefully you understand where we're at now going into episode 300. Next week, we're super stoked. We're going to have a fun filled show for you all on that one. So, Ms. Weedman,
Mr.
you
Weedman,
ready to get the show started?
let's do it.
Let's do this. This article is coming from Marijuana Moment. It's really interesting to look at how Americans are using CBD as an alternative to traditional medications, especially painkillers. So here's a headline. A federally funded study found that millions of Americans are turning CBD as a substitute or sometimes an add on for pharmaceutical drugs, particularly for pain relief. I think that's a big reason why Mrs. Weedman likes weed.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, that's a big deal when you think about it because we're talking about a compound from cannabis plants that doesn't get you high, but is increasingly being used for real therapeutic purposes. According to this research, people commonly reported using CBD instead of prescription painkillers, anti inflammatory medications, sleep aids, and anxiety medications. And honestly, if you've been around cannabis community for a while, that probably doesn't surprise you. I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, I swapped the pills for a little CBD and I'm feeling way better? But what makes this study interesting is that it's federally funded, meaning the data is coming from a large scale public health research, not just anecdotal stories from your buddy on the couch. Researchers found that using CBD as a substitute or a supplement to medications was fairly common among US adults, especially when it came to pain management. And that lines up with a lot of other research we've talked about before. Chronic pain is just one of the number one reasons people turn to cannabis and cannabinoids. Another fascinating part of the research is what scientists call the substitution effect. Basically, when cannabis or CBD becomes more available, some patients reduce or stop using traditional pharmaceuticals, especially opioid painkillers. Now, pause for a second, everybody, because that's huge. Listen to this again. They stop taking opioids, which is a huge problem in this country, still to this day. Did you pause? There you go. We're talking about a country that has been dealing with a serious opioid crisis for decades, and suddenly researchers are seeing evidence that people may be replacing some of those medications with cannabinoids. Now, before anyone gets carried away, the research does point out that more studies are needed. Science moves slowly, and they want to understand exactly how CBD works, who it helps the most, and what the best dosing strategies are. But we're already seeing some clues. CBD interacts with the body's endocannabinoid system, which helps regulate things like pain, inflammation, sleep, and mood. System basically acts like a balancing mechanism inside the body. So when people use CBD, it may help modulate pain signals and inflammatory responses, which could explain why so many users report relief. And here's another interesting place of the bigger picture. Other studies have found that legal cannabis access is associated with lower opioid prescription rates and even a reduction in certain overdose trends in some regions. So when researchers talk about cannabis or CBD as an alternative therapy, they're not just speculating. They're seeing a pattern in real world data. Now, let's be real for a second, Mrs. Weedman. Nobody's saying CBD is some magical cure. If that were true, every pharmacy in America would already be look like a dispensary, which honestly would be kind of amazing. But what researchers are saying is that CBD appears to be helping a lot of people manage pain and other conditions, sometimes with fewer side effects than certain pharmaceuticals. And that's exactly why studies like this matter, because the more data we get, the more doctors, scientists, policymakers can start understanding how cannabinoids actually fit into the modern medicine world. Science is finally catching up, and honestly, that's the kind of research progress we like to hear about during a good Mr. and Mrs. Weedman smoke sesh. Right, Ms. Weedman?
That's right.
That's right. Now, Ms. Weedman,
Yeah.
tell us, and I'm sure you're going to go into some stories of your own, right?
Mhm.
So tell us how cannabis is reshaping the menopause conversation. This one's for all you ladies out there.
Yeah, personally, I've experienced menopause, and without getting into too many details, I learned after about 2 years of being in menopause that menopause is actually just a day. It's the day when you no longer ovulate, as a female, you don't ovulate anymore, and then everything after that date, whenever you figure out that that day has happened, then everything after there is postmenopausal, but it's all of really, it's the hard part. It's what many consider menopause and refer to as menopause. So, uh, again, with I'm giving a lot of information, but I don't fucking care because we need to talk about this shit.
You talk about it.
So I have been in menopause since 2021, 2019. 2021? 2019, 2019. Yeah, I got my diagnosis with my, health condition in 2021. Menopause started in 19, and we're now, you know, 6 full years into it, started my 7th year now, and it's not fun. I'm sorry, I'm like, half in La La Land right now,
Juicy fruit
and then
got you
the other
juicy.
half, yeah, and then the other half of me is trying to stay focused and tell a story. So, excuse my very,
Juicy fruit got you
put
stoned.
this little clip on, fast talk, like 2 times speed, because I think I'm talking slowly. But anyway, so a few things have happened during this time that I'm in menopause. One is that menopause is actually starting to be talked about. Believe it or not, for centuries, people have not talked about menopause. It is a complete change. The female body goes through a drastic change that takes time, and it makes us a little crazy. And women experience it at many different intensities, and it comes, it goes, it comes, it does, it controls your life. You don't control it. And so number one, we're finally talking about it and recognizing it. They used to just in the 50s and 60s, women are just going mad. They're just crazy, because they didn't understand. Like, women were institutionalized sometimes because they were in menopause. They were dealing with menopause and suffering. Like, they thought they were just crazy. So finally, we're starting to talk about it, and we're starting to have processes and support and products and conversation and holistic healthcare and all of these ways that very preliminarily are just chipping away at the top layer of what it means to be in menopause and as a universal subject. And here I am finally getting to the point, very long-winded. Cannabis is starting to come into that conversation. So this is all about how cannabis is becoming connected to menopause. Ladies and guys, yeah, it is worth listening because really, I mean, guys, You have a sister, you have a friend that's a female, you have an aunt, you have a mom, you have a wife, a girlfriend, I don't know, you have a best friend, you have women in your life. Lo and behold, you maybe just work with women. That's enough. You know, like you might be experiencing someone who's going through menopause. So it's important to just learn a little bit. It doesn't hurt. All right. So we're talking about something that doesn't get enough attention in the cannabis space, menopause. And according to researchers and clinicians, cannabis may be quietly becoming one of the tools women are exploring to manage the symptoms. Let's start with the basics. During menopause, estrogen levels decline, and that hormonal shift can cause a whole list of symptoms: hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety, sleep problems, mood changes, joint pain, and even libido changes. The interesting part is that many of those same functions, things like temperature regulation, mood, sleep, and pain, are also influenced by the endocannabinoid system in the body. And that overlap is exactly why scientists and clinicians are starting to pay attention. Now, the article shares stories from women who experimented with different cannabinoid formulas, things like CBD, THC, and even CBG, to address specific symptoms. One woman said she started using a CBG based formula for focus and noticed within a week that she could think more clearly again. Over time, other cannabis products helped with joint pain, anxiety, sleep, and within a couple of weeks, she reported being able to go up and down stairs without knee pain. Honestly, if you've ever dealt with joint pain, you know that's a big deal. But here's something important the article points out. Not everyone using cannabis for menopause is trying to get high. In fact, many people are microdosing. That might mean CBD oil during the day, a very low dose edible at night, or a small puff from a vaporizer before bed, just enough to take the edge off of symptoms. And I think that's a big shift in how cannabis is being used medically. It's becoming more about targeted relief rather than recreational intoxication. Now, when it comes to hot flashes, the research is still a bit unclear. Hot flashes are driven by changes in the brain's temperature regulation system. Scientists know the endocannabinoid system also plays a role in thermoregulation, but the clinical evidence connecting cannabis directly to hot flash relief is still limited. Some women report improvement, while others say it doesn't make much difference, and science is still trying to catch up. Beyond that, some women are also experimenting with cannabis to address libido changes during menopause. THC in particular may increase subjective arousal or sensitivity for some people, though again, individual responses can vary. Another interesting point the article brings up is stigma. Even though cannabis is becoming more mainstream, a lot of women still feel uncomfortable talking to their doctors or their friends about it. But doctors say conversations are starting to change. Clinicians are increasingly seeing patients who are curious about cannabis as an alternative to hormone replacement therapy or other medications. And while there's definitely interest, researchers emphasize that large, rigorous clinical trials are still limited. So, cannabis isn't considered a first line medical treatment for menopause just yet. Cannabis may offer relief for some menopause symptoms, particularly things like sleep, anxiety, and pain, but the science is still evolving. Researchers say the connection between menopause biology and the endocannabinoid system is promising, but we still need better dosing guidelines and more long term safety data. But what is clear is that the conversation is changing. Women are exploring plant based options, asking more questions, and bringing cannabis into the broader discussion about midlife health and wellness. And honestly, I think that's a conversation worth having because menopause affects millions of women. And if cannabis can be a tool in the toolbox, even just for symptom relief, that's something science should absolutely keep studying. Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. Men out there, do yourselves a favor, talk, learn, support. I watched someone give a talk about menopause, and they said this is the time in a woman that they're gonna blossom after this. And I know you don't feel that way right now, Mrs. Weedman,
Yeah.
but I watched someone
Blossom.
gave a talk about this part of a woman's life that when they come out into their mid like early 60s, if it ends that when it's supposed to end, if it does end at that time frame, they're blossoming into a new woman. Somebody
Yeah,
bigger and better and that's gonna be amazing to be with after this
mhm.
change, body
I've heard
change.
that perspective frequently, but I also think that personally, like this second half of life is a time for self-discovery because many of us have children. And so we spend, 25 years, 20 years raising them and prioritizing our children and maybe our career and family members
And
and
your husband.
aging parents and
Yeah,
aging grandparents. Like, we're busy. Our 20s, 30s, 40s, we're fucking busy, right? We don't have time to process old shit and things that we've experienced and, all of the shit of life. We just like suck it up and keep moving on. We got shit to do. We gotta keep going, go, go, go. And then you get in your 50s, kids are gone, house is quiet, job is like, just doing it. Like you're probably at that point where like you're doing shit, but you know how to do it at this point, right?
it's
Maybe
repetition
the
now.
stress has calmed a bit. Your life is just not as chaotic, right? So you're just having time. I think that the second half of your life, if you take the time to recognize that you have this time and a way to use it is to really explore yourself and learn more about yourself and battle through some of the shit that and the walls that you've built up and the issues you've built up and the things that you've experienced and soften a little bit, right? Heal and learn about yourself. And then you are really a 2.0. And is menopause part of that or is it just part of the process? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah, maybe part of it is menopause, but I think the bigger picture for women is that it is just a point in your life where you have more time to actually stop and think about yourself.
That's a great
So,
perspective.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
all. I'm
Pretty good.
stoned.
That's good though.
But I believe everything I
Yeah,
said.
I know. I get it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So just like I said, just learn, grow, be a part of it. Don't run from it. There's
You might
statistics.
wanna hide in a corner every once in a while.
Be tough. Be finally the tough person that your wife or partner needs because she was the tough one all the years when you needed her. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think so.
sure.
It's it's uh it's a th- there's statistics out there that couples get divorced because of menopause and it's sad because it's just they don't learn about it.
Mhm.
They just think something's wrong with the marriage, and stuff like that. So men take it personal and they run. Don't run. Be a part of it. Got to just support and love as us as men too. Our goals and job is as a man, as a husband, is to be a provider, a protector, a guide, and love at all cost. That's why you choose the person you're with, right?
That's right.
So, all right. Before we get all mushy-eyed and teary, this study released by the Harvard Hebrew University of Jerusalem is talking about something pretty interesting: how compounds in cannabis might help reverse a disease that affects about 1/3 of adults worldwide. Now, when you hear the stat 1 in 3 adults, you might be wondering what disease we're talking about. The condition is called metabolic dysfunction, associated steatotic liver disease, which most people still know as fatty liver disease. It happens when excess fat builds up in the liver and is often connected to things like obesity, poor metabolic health, and insulin resistance. Do you know? Uh, I didn't know this. That the liver is the only organ that can rebuild itself from like the tiniest little part that can be taken out and it can regrow back. I didn't know that.
Skin,
No, the liver.
the liver,
Yeah.
more than
And
anything.
yeah, and more than anything, you can
Hmm.
regrow from nothing to something again.
Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes you have to have, like, a skin graft because you can't heal your skin.
Yeah. So,
Hmm,
and here's the kicker: the condition is incredibly common and currently has no widely approved drug treatment, which is why researchers are constantly looking for new therapeutic approaches. So, where does cannabis come into the conversation? According to the study highlighted in this article, scientists at Hebrew University of Jerusalem found that two cannabinoids, CBD and CBG, showed promising effects in improving liver health. Now, most people listening probably know CBD by now. It's the non intoxicating compound that everywhere, from tinctures to gummies. But CBG is a little less famous. But CBG is the mother of all cannabinoids. It's where all the cannabinoids come from. The mother births them, right?
Mhm.
So basically, it's the precursor molecule that helps form other cannabinoids like THC and CBD during the plant's growth process. So in the research, scientists looked at CBD and CBG affected liver fat and metabolic function. And what they found was pretty promising. The cannabinoids significantly reduced fat buildup in the liver and improved metabolic health markers in the experimental model they were studying. Wow. Fatty liver disease isn't just some minor inconvenience. It can eventually lead to serious liver inflammation, fibrosis, and even cirrhosis if it progresses far enough. And since so many adults are dealing with metabolic issues, especially in modern diets, researchers are really eager to find treatment that can target the underlying metabolic dysfunction. That's where cannabinoids might come into play. The researchers believe these compounds may have regulated inflammation, metabolism, and fat processing in the liver, which could explain they're seeing improvements in their liver fat levels. Now, before everybody runs out and starts chugging CBD oil thinking it's the liver detox miracle, slow down for a second, everybody. The research emphasized that more human studies are still needed before this becomes any kind of mainstream medical treatment. Most early research like this starts in a laboratory with experimental models, mice, before moving into large scale clinical trials, but the results are definitely encouraging. Because if the future studies confirm these findings, cannabinoids could potentially become part of new therapies for metabolic liver disease, which again affects roughly a third adults globally. And honestly, it's fascinating to watch science keep uncovering a few ways the cannabis plant interacts with the body. One day we're talking about pain management, another day it's sleep and anxiety, and now research is exploring metabolic health and liver disease. The plant keeps surprising us, which, if you've been around the cannabis world long enough, kind of feels like the theme of the entire industry. Science studies it, find another potential medical application, and everyone goes, wait, this plant does what now? But I'll tell you this, the folks that have been smoking for a long time in the round table or the round circle, the smoke seshers, we're just nodding like, yo, Miss Weedman, we've been telling you this for fucking years. I do believe in CBG. I've talked about it a shit ton on this show. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal cannabinoid. And going back to Mrs. Weedman's talk on menopause, there's like a trifecta out there. And I've said this, it's not always about THC. I love THC. But I've always said I've wanted all the cannabinoids because they're all special. But going to Mrs. Weeman's last talk, I would do a trifecta ratio. No THC unless it's full spectrum, and there's a little minor THC in there in a tincture. But I would do CBG, CBD, and CBC. You'll hit every point you need with those three cannabinoids without being high. We've talked about them on prior episodes, so listen to what those three cannabinoids are, but I tell you what, those would do amazing things for your body. Just trust me when I tell you. So, Ms. Weeman,
Mr. Weedman.
you get the fucking munchies, don't you?
Oh, do I?
So, real talk, tell us a little bit about what science reveals, what types of food the marijuana munchies make you crave the most. What do you crave the most when you're high, Ms. Weeman, before you tell us
Oh
about this?
god. I'm a scavenger.
You
Like a handful of chips, then a handful of Milk Duds, then a handful of cookies, then some fruit, then some ice cream. Something like that in that order. Some
Yeah.
chocolate is usually involved. Yeah.
What's the one munchie that hits the spot for you though? Like
All the time?
the one that that's your go-to. Like I can go to
Mm.
this one and my cravings are gone.
I would say ice cream is my go-to lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. like
is
my
there
favorite snack.
when you're high, munchie wise?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't always have ice cream at home, but
right.
I
You
enjoy it.
Yeah, you like a good Andes or a good
Oh
Dairy
my
Queen.
god. Andes. Yeah. Custard.
Andes, listen to me.
Yes.
If you come up to where we live, anywhere in the northern area of Illinois, in McHenry County, somewhere in McHenry County, you'll have someone at your stand at least 4 times a month, maybe more, but I'm telling you,
I
McHenry
have
County.
osteoporosis. I need my calcium,
Yeah,
right?
McHenry County can use somewhere an
Mhm.
Andes.
They could.
They could. So tell us
All
about the
right.
munchies, Mrs. Weedman.
Well, we all joke about the munchies, suddenly wanting snacks after using cannabis. But scientists say it's actually a real biological effect, not just a stereotype. Researchers from Washington State University and the University of Calgary recently decided to study exactly what's happening when cannabis makes people hungry. And yes, they actually put it to the test. The study involved 82 volunteers between the ages of 21 and 62. Participants were randomly assigned to vape. This is a lot: 20 milligrams of cannabis, 40 milligrams of cannabis, or a placebo. And then researchers measured how their appetite and food choices changed. The results confirmed something many cannabis users already know from experience. The researchers found acutely and robustly increased energy intake, food motivation, and reward value. In other words, when people used cannabis during the trial, they simply wanted more food, and they ended up eating significantly more than the placebo group. And it didn't really matter whether someone had just eaten, what their body mass index was, or even their gender. Cannabis still triggered that appetite response. So now comes the big question everyone probably has: what foods did people actually crave the most? You might think the obvious answers would be chocolate, cookies, chips, all the classic junk food stereotypes. But the researchers were surprised. One of the top foods participants gravitated toward was beef jerky. Beef jerky? Ugh. Even one of the researchers admitted that wasn't what they expected. They thought participants would go for sugary snacks or classic munchy foods like Rice Krispie treats or chips. Instead, jerky ended up being near the top of the list.
I like beef jerky when I'm high.
Yeah. And another interesting one: water. Turns out staying hydrated apparently becomes pretty appealing too. Now, beyond the funny snack choices, the study actually had serious medical implications. Researchers say this appetite boosting effect of cannabis could be extremely helpful for people dealing with conditions that cause appetite loss, like HIV, AIDS, cancer treatments such as chemotherapy, or other wasting disorders. For those patients, increasing appetite isn't just about snacks, it can literally help them maintain body weight and get enough nutrition during treatment. And to better understand what's happening biologically, the researchers also ran similar experiments using rats. The animals basically showed the same behavior. When the rats were exposed to cannabis, they were much more motivated to work for food, even when they had already eaten. One of the scientists described it like this: normally, a full animal won't bother trying to get more food. But once cannabis entered the equation, the rats acted like they were suddenly starving again. So, what's going on in their brain? According to the researchers, THC activates cannabinoid receptors in the brain and essentially hijack the body's hunger system, particularly in a region called the hypothalamus, which helps control appetite and energy balance. That means even if your body isn't technically hungry, cannabis can trigger signals that make you feel hungry anyway, which explains a lot of late night snack runs.
Mhm.
But the really interesting takeaway from this research is that there wasn't one specific food category that people preferred. Some participants gravitated toward carbs, others toward proteins, and some toward fatty snacks. So the munchies don't necessarily push everyone toward junk food. It can just increase the overall desire to eat. And that tells scientists something important. Cannabis isn't just making certain foods taste better, it's boosting motivation and reward around food in general. So the next time someone says the munchies are just in your head, well, science says otherwise. Researchers now have growing evidence that cannabis changes how the brain processes hunger signals. And that discovery could eventually help doctors develop new treatments for people struggling with appetite loss. But for the rest of us, it might just mean keeping a few snacks nearby before you start a sesh. Preferably something healthier than a full bag of chips. Although, I'm not judging.
I think for me, when it comes to munchies, I there's certain things like I like jerky because it doesn't dry my mouth up.
Yeah.
I get cotton mouth pretty bad. I've always have. I drink a shit ton of water when I'm high, and my mouth is always cotton mouth no matter what strain I smoke. It's very rarely that I don't have cotton mouth. So eating like cookies and cakes and chips really have never really interested me because I got cotton mouth. It's like when you're talking, it feels like fucking sawdust coming
Mm,
out of your mouth when you're eating it. So I've always looked for sour stuff or stuff that was gonna take away my cotton mouth and like a good teriyaki beef jerky
mhm,
that's savory, looking for that savory stuff that maybe I'll take a sweet and salty kind of food, but or a umami,
mm,
that stuff I can eat, but and nothing heavy. Like I can't eat heavy food when I'm stoned. You know me. After if we eat pizza and I smoke right afterwards,
mhm.
I'm like bleep bopping all the way
And I
fucking
love
home.
I love to smoke before a meal.
Yeah, I
I
can't.
think it
Just makes
enhances.
me
Yeah.
fuller, just like feels like I got like 5 pounds of food in my gut. I'm like, "Bleep bop," all the way down the bed, just but
It's weird.
that's just I know, it's weird. It's just it doesn't get like an hour, like 2 hours, 3 hours later, I might still be a little high, then I can eat, and I enjoy it 1,000 times better, but the first initial smoking and then, like, an hour after, oof, no
Mm,
thank you. Can't even stand the smell of food most of the time. Try walking into a place that's just cooking fried food, I walk right out the
yeah.
fucking door. Ugh. Ugh. So, like, Mrs. Weedman's infatuation with the smell of fried chicken.
Oh god. Ugh. Mm, disgusting. And lately, the bread aisle at the store just fucking makes me wanna puke. Like, what is in bread? You
Nothing good,
stand at
nothing
the
real
end of the
anymore.
bread aisle and you just smell chemicals.
Nothing
It's the
real.
strangest thing.
Yep.
Dog
But
food aisle and the bread aisle, just skip it or hold your breath.
Ugh. Ooh,
Ugh,
boots.
nasty.
Political, state, and business news. A former congressman and major alcohol industry players are urging Congress to regulate hemp-derived THC products instead of banning them outright as the federal prohibition looms. They warn that the recriminalization of popular hemp beverages and cannabinoids could create an underground market, arguing consumers already want these products, so their smarter move is the FDA oversight and regulations, not prohibition. We have a friend that started this. Runners High Chicago, a
Mhm,
cannabis-friendly run club turning workouts into a whole vibe. They started it in 2022 as a high idea. A high idea has grown into a weekly wellness circle where runners hit the trail, celebrate cannabis culture, and build community. It's proof weed culture isn't just couch lock. It can be a movement, connection, and a little cardio with the cannabis behind the scenes. Our co-founders and co-captains, uh, Anna Curran, aka Ramirez, and Carlos Ramos, who I've had the pleasure to know for many years now. I worked with Carlos in the beer industry for a while, and good homie. He's been
mhm.
on the show. Our 5-year anniversary 420
Yep,
special. He was
yep.
he was on the show. Yep, talking about Runners Club, and then what is his company's name? Also, his
Up elevated,
Up Elevated
yeah,
Cocktails,
elevated
and he does
cocktails.
a bunch of infused cannabis drinks. Reach out to him. He does parties. So very proud of Carlos. This was written in the High Times magazine. So they describe Runners High Chicago as Latino-led and justice-impacted led, and who connect their wellness work to a larger vision of restorative justice in communities harmed by the war on drugs. In a city where legalization didn't automatically equal equity, the framing lands with weight. So congratulations, Carlos and AK, on your write-up in High Times magazine. Pretty proud of you.
Mhm.
Georgia pharmacies are becoming the first in the nation allowed to dispense medical marijuana products. The program focuses on low THC cannabis oil capped at 5%. You should 5%. Meanwhile, like I'm in Illinois and it's like you see fucking vape carts, distillate carts for like 96, 97%, 98% sometimes. It's like, and Georgia's getting capped at 5% for registered patients with serious conditions. Patients must show a state registered card and ID. The move could dramatically expand access since hundreds of independent pharmacies may eventually participate. Going the pharmacy route, Georgia. Oof. News in Iowa. Lawmakers are considering a bill that would classify hemp as an agricultural commodity, giving farmers clearer protection to grow, transport, and sell it. But there's a twist. THC limits on hemp edibles would tighten, and inhalable hemp products like smokable flower and vapes would be banned, sparking debate between farmers, businesses, and regulators. Los Angeles officials are considering a taxed amnesty program for more than 500 cannabis businesses that owe roughly $400 million in back taxes. Oh, gosh. The idea waive penalties and interest if companies repay the base tax through payment plans. City leaders say it's a way to cover at least some of the revenue and bring struggling cannabis operators back into compliance. Okay, let me explain something to you. That tells you something, California. If you have $400 million in back taxes, one, your tax rate is way too high. Two, you don't give a shit about the people or the owners. All you care about is filling your coffers with cannabis tax money, which none of you deserve. You should be paying us back for the war on drugs, the $1 trillion you've wasted in the last since 1972. And I will tell you this, I will say this to the die. No government should be making money off of cannabis until they free every nonviolent cannabis crime victim and give that money back to the people and not put it in your pockets because none of you deserve a dime of it. None of you. So Los Angeles, you should just do away 1%, 2% tax. That's all you deserve. And that just pays for certain shit. But no bueno. Texas voters just weighed in on cannabis during the state's primary election, and the results were loud. A non binding ballot measure supporting marijuana legalization expunging past low-level convictions passed about 80% to 20% among Democrat primary voters. It doesn't change the law yet, but it sends a clear message. Texans are showing growing support for legal cannabis reform. A new poll shows that most Massachusetts residents oppose a ballot measure that would roll back the state's marijuana legalization law. About 63% said they're against repealing legal cannabis, while around 20% support it. The proposal would end licensed recreational sales and home growing. Ooh, bad news. So voters are basically saying, yeah, we're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it.
We're
We're not
not
gonna
gonna
take
take it
it
anymore.
anymore. Bam, 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 bam. Virginia lawmakers in both the House and Senate have advanced bills to legalize regulated recreational marijuana sales, sending the proposal towards the governor's desk. Adults could buy up to 2.5 ounces per transaction. The plan would create a tax retail market with sales potentially starting late 2026 or early 2027. Fucked up Florida. We used to say no fucks Florida, but this is fucked up Florida. A new poll shows most Florida voters support legalizing marijuana, even if the state officials defended validating 10,000s of ballot petition signatures tied to legalization campaigns. So basically, you're starting from scratch again. Advocates are challenging those decisions in court, hoping to revive the initiative and give voters another shot at deciding cannabis legalization statewide. Fucked up you are, Florida. Your Supreme Court is fucked up. You- Ugh. A new poll shows most Florida voters, though, support legalizing marijuana. So why would you do? Ugh, so angry. Um. Okay. Michigan officials are sending nearly 94 million in marijuana tax revenue to more than 300 local governments and tribal communities across the state. The money comes from legal cannabis sales and will help fund local priorities. Each eligible area gets about 54,000 for every licensed dispensary or micro business, showing how legalization is pumping real dollars back into the communities. A House Agriculture Committee advanced the new 2026 Farm Bill, but hemp operators didn't get the relief they hoped for. A federal crackdown on intoxicating hemp THC products is set for November. And the bill also threatens a 5-year USDA license suspensions for farmers who normally grow non-compliant hemp crops, leaving the $28 billion hemp industry facing serious uncertainty. And it's thundering out right now, folks. I don't know if you can
Mhm.
hear that. They are talking up there. Now I'm passing the joint over to you, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, I've got some more political state and business news. Lawmakers tried to pass regulation on hemp derived THC products, but the effort collapsed before the legislative session ended. Some lawmakers say that leaves a loophole where intoxicating THC drinks and products can still be sold with limited guardrails. Meanwhile, businesses say they're open to reasonable regulation, like age limits, but not an outright ban, calling for middle ground. West Virginia lawmakers just passed a House bill to finally unlock about $38 million sitting in the state's medical cannabis fund. The money has been stuck for years because of federal marijuana laws. The proposal would send millions toward addiction research, law enforcement grants. It should go to research. Homeless services and university studies, basically putting cannabis dollars back to work. The New Hampshire Senate has killed a marijuana legalization bill that previously passed the House, dealing another setback to reform efforts in the Granite State. The bill would have allowed adult possession and regulated cannabis sales, but senators voted 15-9 to table it, stopping it in its tracks, keeping New Hampshire the only state in New England without legal recreational cannabis.
Shame.
Yeah. City leaders on the Evanston Reparations Committee are considering a new local tax on hemp derived Delta 8 THC products to help fund the city's pioneering reparations program. Officials say cannabis tax revenue alone hasn't been enough, so a hemp tax could add funding, though they admit it likely wouldn't generate huge dollars. Still, every little bit helps keep the reparations fund moving. Missouri's marijuana tax revenue is absolutely booming. The state pulled in about $255 million in cannabis sales tax in 2025, more than double earlier projections. Around 151 million went to the state and about 103 million to local governments, with major funding supporting veterans health care and community programs. Turns out legalization isn't just popular, it's a serious economic engine. After years of delays, medical cannabis is finally expected to hit dispensary shelves as early as April. The program has faced lawsuits and licensing battles, but regulators say qualified patients will soon be able to access products through the state's system. It's a big milestone for Alabama's long awaited medical marijuana rollout. We've been talking about that for years.
Mhm.
The U.S. Department of Transportation is reminding federally regulated workers that using medical marijuana or hemp products is not an excuse for failing a drug test. Officials say substance abuse professionals must treat a positive THC test as a violation, even if someone claims it came from CBD or medical cannabis. Bottom line, federal safety sensitive jobs still follow strict THC rules. Oklahoma's governor says the state's medical marijuana program has failed and argues it's time to shut this broken system down. He claims youth use, visits, cartel crime, and massive oversupply are rising, even saying the state now has more dispensaries than pharmacies. The voter approved program launched in 2018 and currently serves hundreds of thousands of patients. Arizona senators have scaled back controversial bills that would punish people for excessive marijuana smoke or odor after critics warned they could recriminalize legal cannabis use. Lawmakers removed language that would make it a crime, instead, framing it more like a public nuisance issue. The debate now centers on how to define excessive smoke drifting onto neighboring property. A new organization called the National Compassionate Care Council is launching to help shape cannabis policy, using science and real patient experience as federal rescheduling efforts move forward. The group says the goal is making sure cannabinoid therapies are discussed within a clear, evidence based federal framework, not outdated myths, while pushing policymakers to turn reform momentum into real healthcare policy. Lawmakers in the West Virginia House have passed a bill that would expand the state's medical cannabis program, sending it to the Senate next. The proposal would allow patients and caregivers to grow up to 10 cannabis plants at home, with no more than 5 flowering at once, giving patients another option for access if it ultimately becomes law. That's all I got. Moving on back over to Mr. Weedman.
And Mrs. Weedman's gonna roll me up that joint over there and light it
Sure
up
will.
and
Sure
smoke it
will.
with me.
Okay.
Several proposals in the Mississippi legislature, including bills tied to medical marijuana policy, died at the session's key deadline, meaning they won't move forward this year. Lawmakers simply ran out of time to advance them through committee. And it's another reminder that in politics, sometimes bills don't fall from votes, they just quietly expire and drift away. A new statewide poll shows strong bipartisan support for keeping hemp derived products legal but regulated. A survey of more than 800 voters found that 73% favor regulation instead of full ban, even as lawmakers debate new restrictions. Only a small share supports prohibition, showing most residents want guardrails like age limits, not right out shutdown of the hemp market. With New York cannabis sales off to a record start in 2026, the state is on pace to sell more cannabis than California by the end of the decade, state regulators say. Ooh, them fighting words. Breweries in Cincinnati are chasing over Ohio's crackdown on hemp derived THC drinks. Some breweries have jumped into the THC beverage market, while others say it's blurring the line between alcohol and cannabis regulations. With new state restrictions looming, the local craft beer scene is basically debating whether THC drinks are innovation or competition in disguise. The South Dakota Senate panel has rejected a bill that would eliminate the state's medical marijuana oversight committee, voting 4-3 to block it. Yay. Good for you, South Dakota. California's sober life. People skipping alcohol but still enjoying cannabis. More Americans are choosing weed over booze, partially because it avoids hangovers. Meanwhile, alcohol harms causes over 170,000 U.S. deaths every year, while marijuana toxicity deaths are considered negligible. And among young adults, cannabis use is hitting record highs. Looks like the bar tab is getting replaced by the edible menu, Mrs. Weedman. And you, Mrs. Weedman, has a really good edible menu. Smoke break.
Mhm.
Juicy fruit, how I love you. Thank you, Midwest Dirt, for throwing to the cause. Florida Republicans gubernatorial hopeful Byron Donaldson recently admitted he sold small amounts of marijuana as a teenager. Didn't we all? Confirming earlier reports during an interview. Donald said it's happened during a rough period of his youth and called it a terrible decision. He says those early mistakes only pushed him to turn his life around and focus on mentorship and public service. So it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a terrible decision. It was part of your life. And I hope you win. Michigan cannabis regulators are reminding retailers to stop calling their shops dispensaries. The state says that term is legally reserved for pharmacies under drug control laws, so licensed cannabis stores must use the official term provisioning centers. Regulators are also warning businesses not to use the words like pharmacy, apothecary, or drugstore in ads of signage. Time to update those shop signs. That is just so stupid. Michigan, you're very progressive in a lot of stuff, especially in your cannabis laws, but some of the stuff you do, man, that make no sense. None. Several veteran groups are urging Congress to expand access to marijuana and psychedelic therapies. To help tackle the veteran suicide crisis. During hearings of Capitol Hill, advocates say traditional treatments like pills and therapy often aren't enough, especially PTSD and severe depression, and they're pushing lawmakers to explore new science-backed treatment options for veterans. Tennessee lawmakers relaunched Pot for Potholes marijuana legalization push, and they're also saying too if it goes off to Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, you might see some changes too. So we'll see. Tennessee, come on. Duke Rodriguez runs the Ultra Health and is running for governor of New Mexico. Ultra Health is a dispensary in New Mexico. In a moment when rescheduling is still only a federally directive, not a finished reality. He argues cannabis can shift from a partisan fight to a practical test of governance. Rules people can follow, honest labeling, real oversight, and legal market that can actually compete with the illicit one. Lawmakers there just gave this first green light to a bill that could create temporary licenses for cannabis events. The idea is to let brands host legal weed events at places like music venues or pop up spaces, something advocates say could boost small businesses and cannabis culture. If it passes, events would still be 21 plus with stricter rules and no alcohol. Police in Pennsylvania arrested a man after he showed up at a bar with, guess what, Mrs. Weedman?
What?
An injured parakeet in his
Aw.
pocket. And he
Aw.
claimed the bird smoked marijuana and drank beer daily. Well, we know Vega
Yeah, yeah,
liked
yeah.
drinking beer out of
Uh-huh.
our glass.
Yeah.
And he was always around weed smoke, so
He'd
I yeah, he
he'd
coughed,
cough.
fake cough. This poor bird, though, had a broken leg and was underweight, and vets took it into the hospital. The man now faces multiple animal cruelty charges. Clearly, the bird needed better friends. Oh, no permission required. Cannabis leaders speak to the next generation of women.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Miss Weedman.
Yep. This one is a little different. It's not about policies or research. It's about leadership, mentorship, and the women helping shape the cannabis industry today. The article asks a simple but powerful question to several female leaders across the cannabis world. If you could talk to your 21-year-old self about business, what would you say about being fearless? And their answers were actually uh, painting a really interesting picture of what leadership in the cannabis world looks like right now. First up is Anne Therese, executive director of the Arizona Dispensaries Association. She says fearlessness in business doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means moving forward even when the path is unpredictable. According to Therese, emerging industries like cannabis are where real growth happens, and sometimes the uncomfortable spaces are exactly where the biggest opportunities live, which honestly sounds like a lot of the cannabis industry itself, because nothing about this space has ever been predictable, right?
Sure. Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Every day fucking something happens, something different.
Mm-hmm.
Laws, stores,
There's
fucking
just something.
just something always going
Yeah.
on. Research.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Then there's Laura Bianchi, an attorney and co-founding partner of the cannabis law firm Bianchi and Brandt. Her advice is pretty straightforward. Stop waiting until you feel ready, because that moment might never come. She says real confidence isn't about pretending you're fearless. It comes from doing the work, asking questions, and being prepared, even when you feel nervous about the next step. And that's a big theme that keeps showing up throughout this article. Another voice in this piece is Caroline Riggs. She's vice president of marketing and retail for Copper State Farms and Soulflower Dispensaries. She says one of the biggest lessons she'd give her younger self is that fear of failure is the is often, the biggest lie entrepreneurs tell themselves. The fear of failure is often the biggest lie entrepreneurs tell themselves.
Mhm.
Mhm. According to Riggs, most successful careers are built on a long list of mistakes, experiments, and lessons learned along the way. In her words, failure isn't the end, it's basically tuition for success. I love that. Because anyone who worked in cannabis knows this industry has been one big learning curve from day one. The article also includes insight from Sarah Walker McLaughlin, a product development leader and former endurance athlete. She compares business leadership to competitive sports. She says success isn't about avoiding setbacks, it's about showing up every day, even when things get hard. Some days you win, some days you learn, but discipline and persistence are what actually move you forward. Another perspective comes from Kate O'Connor Massey. She's the CEO of the cannabis tech company BatchNav. Her advice is short but powerful. She quotes a famous line from Winnie the Pooh: "You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." Which honestly is a pretty good message for anyone trying to build something new. And then we have a highlight leader, Jessica Ferranti. She is the CEO of the Macelia Group, who encourages entrepreneurs to trust their intuition more. She says fear can actually be useful, but it should never stop you from pursuing the things you believe in. And Brooke Westfield, founder of the Women in Cannabis Expo, who reminds young entrepreneurs that things rarely go according to plan. But sometimes, she says, the outcome ends up being better than the original vision. The common thread running through all of these perspectives is that fearlessness isn't about having zero doubt. It's about preparation, resilience, and continuing to move forward even when things feel uncertain. And honestly, that mindset fits perfectly within the cannabis industry. Because let's be real, this entire sector was built by people willing to step into something new before the rules were ever even written. Today, women are helping lead that movement, whether it's through policy work, entrepreneurship, technology, advocacy, or education. Across the cannabis space, female leaders are playing a growing role in shaping how the industry evolves. So, the big takeaway from this article is pretty simple. Fearless business leadership doesn't mean you're fearless all the time. It means you prepare, take the leap anyway, learn from your mistakes, and keep building. And according to the women shaping the cannabis industry today, the next generation of leaders should remember one thing: don't wait for the perfect moment. Because in cannabis, the people who help shape the future are usually the ones willing to step forward first.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Powerful women.
yeah, definitely.
Powerful. International news. Researchers at the University of Johannesburg have developed a hemp based construction bricks designed to tackle the country's housing crisis. The lightweight, breathable bricks are carbon negative, energy efficient, and made from hemp mixed with lime binder. The idea is cheaper, greener homes for rural communities, providing once again that cannabis isn't just for joints. Sometimes it really helps build houses too. Canada's cannabis industry contributed nearly 11.6 billion to the country's GDP in 2025, showing just how big the market has become. Licensed producers accounted for about 10.6 billion, while retailers added nearly 1 billion more. It's actually more economic impact than industries like transportation or gas stations, proving cannabis has become a serious pillar of the Canada's economy. According to El Opinion, the country's long awaited medical cannabis industry may finally be ready to bloom. After years of trials, France is preparing a permanent medical cannabis framework expected to launch around 2026, with prescriptions through trained doctors and distribution via pharmacies. The program could treat conditions like neuropathic pain, epilepsy, and cancer symptoms, big, um, marking a big shift in French cannabis policy. While some U.S. media outlets keep calling marijuana a problem, parts of South America are treating it like a legitimate economic opportunity. Business leaders there are pushing for clear regulations and investment, viewing cannabis as a real market with jobs, exports, and potential growth, not just a culture war topic. I wish the United States would think that way.
Mm,
I wish our federal government would think that way. So stupid. Com-
mhm.
Industry, if we started exporting, people want California weed so bad, exports, and my God, we'd be doing triple the amount of money right now. Where am I at? Where did I leave off? Oh, South Africa lawmakers are moving closer to regulating cannabis edibles like gummies, chocolates, baked goods, and infused drinks as part of a broader cannabis industry bill. Yay, South Africa. Grenada's governor general has officially signed the country's cannabis reform bill into law, kicking off phase one of cannabis decriminalization. The law allows limited possessions for adults 21 and over, small household cultivation, and approved medicinal, scientific, and religious use, while keeping restrictions on public consumption and protecting minors. Next step, building a regulated cannabis industry framework. Isle of Man, the island's Lieutenant Governor Sir John Lemire recently visited the Medican Medical Cannabis Clinic in Douglas to learn how regulated cannabis medicine is helping local patients. During the first visit, he met clinicians and staff to understand how prescriptions work and how cannabis treatment are improving quality of life for people with chronic pain, neurological conditions, and other complex illnesses. A Portuguese soccer club party owned by a Brazilian superstar, Vinicius Jr., got fined £760 after officials said stadium smelled, or euros, sorry, not pounds, after officials said the stadium smelled strongly like weed during a match between FC Alverca and CD Santa Clara. The smell drifted from the fan section to the opposing bench. So, yeah, the home crown bought a different kind of home field advantage, Mrs. Weedman. All right. We've never been, but I've been in New Orleans. You've been in New Orleans, right?
Mhm. No,
And
I've never been to New
you've never
Orleans.
been to New Orleans?
No,
No, I've
never.
been once for work. But New Orleans is iconic for what, Mrs. Weedman?
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. And I guess this year's Mardi Gras was kind of themed into a green sea of transformation.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
When most people think of Mardi Gras, they probably picture New Orleans, beads flying through there, massive parades, street parties, and of course, a whole lot of alcohol. That tradition has been part of Mardi Gras celebrations for generations. But according to this story, something interesting has been happening over the past few years. Cannabis is quietly becoming part of the Mardi Gras experience, especially among younger crowds, and it's beginning to shift how some people celebrate. Now, historically, Mardi Gras has always been associated with drinking. Urban Street is basically legendary for it, but the article says young festival goers are increasingly choosing cannabis as an alternative way to enjoy their celebrations. And that shift reflects a broader trend that we're seeing across the country. Younger adults, especially millennials and Gen Z, are drinking less alcohol overall compared to previous generations. Instead, many are turning to cannabis for social events, concerts, festivals, and nightlife experiences. So, Mardi Gras, one of the biggest party events in the United States, is naturally starting to reflect that cultural change. The article explains that cannabis use during Mardi Gras isn't exactly new. People have been bringing it to the celebration for years. But what's different now is how normalized it's becoming, especially as more states legalize cannabis and public attitudes change and evolve. In places like New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. Now I did it. Which way does it go? It depends on who says
Inquiring
it.
minds want to know.
Tomato, tomato. Where cannabis laws have gradually softened, you're seeing more people openly incorporating it into their festival routines. And some attendees say they actually prefer it. For many people, cannabis offers a different kind of social vibe compared to alcohol. Instead of chaotic energy that can sometimes come with heavy drinking, users often describe a more relaxed, laid back way of enjoying the music, the parades, and the street performances. And let's be honest, Mardi Gras can get pretty intense. So, for some festival goers, cannabis becomes a way to take in the experience without going overboard on booze. Another interesting point in the article is how cannabis is influencing the younger Mardi Gras crowd's overall approach to partying. Instead of focusing entirely on drinking contests and bar hopping, some people are building celebrations around food, music, art, and social connection, with cannabis acting as a social enhancer rather than the main event. And that cultural shift mirrors what's happening in other festival scenes too. Music festivals, wellness events, and social gatherings across the country are starting to incorporate cannabis in ways that emphasize experience and atmosphere rather than intoxication. Now, that doesn't mean alcohol is disappearing from Mardi Gras anytime soon. Let's be real, that tradition runs deep. But the article suggests that cannabis is becoming part of the mix, especially among younger generations who view it as a normal recreational option. And with cannabis legalization expanding across the U.S., cultural moments like Mardi Gras may continue to evolve along with it. In other words, the next generation of festival goers may celebrate a little differently than their parents did. Maybe a few less hangovers, maybe a little more chill. And honestly, if you've ever tried navigating a Mardi Gras crowd, being a little more relaxed might not be the worst thing. So, according to this piece from Cannabis News World, cannabis isn't replacing Mardi Gras traditions, but it's quietly reshaping the culture, especially as the younger crowd brings new habits and new perspectives to one of the America's biggest celebrations. It'll be interesting to see how cannabis and alcohol and old traditions and new ones, how they begin to evolve in the years ahead. So, pretty cool.
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras.
I don't know if I'll ever go.
No?
No. I don't know if you or I'll ever go. I don't know if I wanna go.
Hmm, I might wanna go.
I wanna go to New Orleans again,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I wanna go to Mardi Gras. Just
You know what I wanna go to is that
the
yeah,
Jazz Fest I'd go to.
yeah, but that other cool thing that, Anthony Bourdain did, he went off to one of, like, the districts or whatever they're called, the neighborhoods
Yeah.
that they have there, and they what is their what are they
Wards.
wards?
Yeah, wards. I think it's
Something like that?
wards. The ninth
Um,
ward, the 10th ward, the
is it
16th ward, I think so, yeah.
precincts?
No, I think it's
Something?
wards.
Yeah. So there's all of this, like, cultural celebration that happens in one of these wards or whatever, one of these areas in the New Orleans greater, area.
Right.
And it was like this backyard bayou, funky, crazy stuff. They, like, had wild costumes, remember? They had masks,
Yes.
and they danced, and they
Mhm.
were drinking, like, straight up booze, and they had, like, crawfish boils, but they were different. It was just like, a little funkier. And then
Nice.
weren't they fighting or,
I
like
don't remember.
I don't know, it was just bizarre.
So long ago.
Yeah, we gotta watch that episode
Yeah.
again.
I would do that,
Yeah,
and I
it'd be
like New
fun.
Orleans. I had a great time there, but I just don't know if I'd wanna do more if I was in my 20s
I
again?
think it would just be fun to see it for a minute, like, I wouldn't need to spend, like, days there.
Right.
Like, see Mardi Gras, like, get there at the like, is it only one day?
No, I don't
It's like a
think
week or
it's a week.
something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
I don't know, see a day of it.
leads all the way up into Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
right? Is like the
I don't
last
know.
day. I don't know.
I
That's how
don't
much we know about
know.
it.
Who knows?
So
Someday we should just go.
so before we wrap this one up, next week is a big one for us here on the Weedman 420 Chronicles podcast. Episode 300.
Yeah.
300. For Mrs. Weedman, just
Mr. Weedman.
think of it this way.
Mhm.
300 smoke sessions,
Yeah.
300 weeks of cannabis news,
Yeah.
and we are super stoked for that 300th episode. This is a big deal for I thought 200 was a big deal. Phew, 300.
300.
It's been a lot of hours.
Mhm.
Just think 300 shows that you and I have done 285 together. 285
Mhm.
together.
Mhm.
And but I've done 300, and putting these together, just think about how many hours a week on top of
Yeah.
just the hour and a half, 2 hours we do on a Tuesday night, and how the show has developed over the years too. So,
Well,
three
you are our, writer,
yeah,
and you choose all of the articles and the discussion and you format and you spend hours upon hours. You're reading articles daily
phew,
just to gather information, anything that you think is a topic that we should visit. You're collecting, and then at week's end on Monday, you're looking at everything you collected over the prior 6 days, 7 days.
it's
And
100 to
then
150 articles a
yeah.
week.
And then narrowing that down to what we are going to discuss on the show. And yeah, you put a lot of work into it. You put a lot of effort into it, and it's really important to you. And that's why I'm here to join you.
Thanks, Mrs. Weedman. I
Sure,
I
Mr.
love I
Weedman.
love doing it. So, stay tuned for our 300th episode
Yeah.
next week, and thank you out there for the ones who have listened. Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
you got anything else to say?
Oh, yes. Um, there was a gentleman not much older than me and Mr. Weedman from the neighborhood who went missing
Yep.
after Thanksgiving and was just found today.
Mm.
And he has the most phenomenal, sup- just craziest entourage of people that became vested in finding him. There were like over 100 people that were like their core search group, and they scoured yards and everything, the whole entire South Side. This happened from Blue Island, and I mean, they just were so it was impressive. It was like the leadership. So his daughter and his ex-wife, who is his daughter's mother, were the coordinators of everything, and it just evolved into this like fascinating story of endurance and perseverance and strength in numbers and encouragement and just a positive space and a common mission that people just like from all around the world got engaged in this story, and it just blew up and became kind of this phenomena. Like people were just everybody wanted to find Dan. Find Dan. Find Dan. You may wherever you live, you may have seen a sign to find Dan. And so he had some sort of apparent medical emergency, uh, like maybe the day prior to having gone missing, and then he was in an accident, and then he just disappeared. He literally just disappeared. So the weather has broke here, and so there was a lot of, talk that, maybe once all of these ponds and lakes and streams and things started to thaw, that maybe he would arise.
Right.
So he was found today. The details of where and how he was found haven't been shared, and they don't need to be shared. I think it's um, just closure for his daughter and his ex-wife, and um, they were just on such a mission, and so many people had put so much effort into trying to find him. So such a sad ending. But I think the sadder ending would be spending years and years wondering where Dan is. So it's closure for his family. Of course, not the closure that they wanted. But so anyway, if you happen to not know about Where's Dan, you could look up Find Dan Davis and you could see the backstory to it. And so anyway, kind of a sad day, but
Also
a
a
day of
blessing.
hope
Yeah.
too. And yeah, a lot
Mhm.
of goodness shine through this whole story.
I didn't mean to laugh
So,
before. I told you we were gonna tell a different story. That's
which
why I
did you
started.
think I was gonna talk
The
about?
story of you falling, so
Oh,
we
yeah, I
don't let's not
fell.
talk about that
I fell.
one.
Yeah, everything hurts. I can't wait to get out of this chair, quite honestly, so I'm not telling that story
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. That's why I went to laugh, but yes, rest
Mm,
in peace, Dan Davis, for, local Southside guy. So, well, everybody, thank you for listening. We appreciate y'all out there. We love you. We need a little peace. We need a little kindness. We need a little love. World is fucked up again. Here we go. We love you all out there. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a ninth decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.